Hello everyone, this is Defense Policy. Cue it! Cue it! Press the like button. Oh, it's Q. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my god. They came out so early today. Yeah, press the like button to cue it. Yeah. Okay, let's start again. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 341 for the 30th of January. And let's start off with southern front. We have nothing in Zaporizhia, Kherson region, and at the Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Mykolaiv region. Except that there along at the Zaporizhia region, over near Novoderivka, there is a report of a Ukrainian Mi-8 getting shot down over Novoderivka. So that is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Moving on to the Donetsk region, and over the Donetsk region, the main bulk of the attention, of course, is still at the Vuhledar region. At the Vuhledar region, there is fighting reported. So yesterday, if you watch the Vuhledar report, if you haven't, I urge you to go and watch. It's actually Rybar has corroborated the information coming out from SITREP maps. So let's go through some of the information. Generally speaking, both defense ministry, the Russian and the Ukrainian side, both confirm that the fighting is ongoing in Vuhledar. So this is important because this set the basis of all the information that we are hearing from non-governmental sources. So the Rybar, the pro-Russian source, reported that the Ukrainians actually sent a lot of reinforcement over to Vuhledar, and that actually practically knocks the Russian armed forces out from the territory, which means that Rybar has acknowledged the information coming out from Deep State UA and SITREP maps, the pro-Ukrainian source and the neutral source, that the Russian forces is currently out of Vuhledar. And the Ukrainian forces actually launched a counteroffensive south of Vuhledar. So let me pull out the pen. So the Ukrainian forces actually managed to do a counteroffensive out of Vuhledar, and this is then a counterattack. This is actually counteracted by the Russian forces, where the 155th Brigade of the Pacific Fleet repulsed the attack and then drove the Ukrainian backwards. So the Russian forces then counterattacked and push back the Ukrainian forces. So as a result, the Ukrainian forces have to pull back into Vuhledar itself, and then the Ukrainian forces then actually decided to mine the approaches and the roads, particularly on the Shatarskaya Street, which is remotely mined. So let me show you remotely mined, and let me go clear. So is this road. Vuhledar is actually road, Shatarska road. This road actually along these buildings are now mined remotely, which means that the Russians are actually pretty near, close enough to actually fire upon this region around here, which is why they actually did a remote mining of these roads, and which means that the Russian forces, if they choose to try to I'm actually, there's so many buttons, I'm so confused. Yeah, if the Russian forces try to penetrate and move in, they're gonna encounter mines, and these Ukrainian mines will be very hard to clear, because you can't really stay out in the open like this. With the Ukrainian forces will be firing at you from the high grounds or the building heights, which means we are not going to expect easy or fast advance of the Russian forces now. In this way, trying to go through like this is unlikely now. So what happened is that the Russian forces instead, they are actually attacking on the eastern side, particularly from Mykolaiv towards this South Donbass mine number 1. They are actually pushing this way up currently at the moment, and they also counterattack into the Dacha region, here. So which previously was lost by the Russian forces. So in the deep state in the Rybas mapping, they themselves also have confirmed the loss of this Dacha on the eastern side of Vuhledar. If you don't believe me, you can go to Defense Politics Asia Telegram channel or the Instagram. You can actually go to Instagram, probably easier, where I actually have the 4 different maps. Deep State UA, Ryba, Syria maps, and DPAs. You can actually compare the maps. We are more or less similar, very similar. Of course, with the certain slant, like for example, Ryba, which is pro-Russian, put the gray zone a lot higher, a lot closer to Vuhledar, whereas Deep State UA totally doesn't want to acknowledge Russian forces anywhere near to Vuhledar. So we have the mappings very similar to like this. Because DPA we have 2 mappings, the blue and the red ones. Blue is the Ukrainian map, red is the Russian map. So you can actually kind of see the differences and where the gray zones are. So the Russians here, I also indicated that the Ryba reported that there is fighting southeast in the suburban areas. So this is actually a very vague way of writing, because what is suburban? If this is urban, there is no suburban here. So basically there is nothing. Actually, you can see that it's basically there's nothing much here. So it's kind of weird the way how they write it. Probably some kind of coping mechanism to say that they are actually not in Vuhledar. So as you can see, I already indicated the remote mining. And so the Ukrainian forces reportedly have, according to Ryba, has positioned themselves in the forest belt north of Vuhledar and in the northeast. So which is actually these 2 forest lines here. These 2 forest lines, currently the Ukrainians are now positioned within this area, because you can't really fit everyone into Vuhledar, and you will also expose yourself to unnecessary death due to artillery strikes. So having more defensive position outside of Vuhledar makes a lot of sense. But the fact that they actually positioned here do suggest that the Russians are actually very close in the south and southeast of Vuhledar, and the information that the Russians are actually counter-attacking to try to recapture the Dachas in the east of Vuhledar does makes a lot of sense. So the Ukrainians are also reported to have a few hospitals around the South Donbass mine. So while they are in position here as they are some kind of forward operating base or support base to Vuhledar, they actually have their field hospital here as well. But this is actually very vulnerable, because the Russians are currently pushing. The distance between these 2 is not even a kilometer. The Russians are really very close. The forest line probably is the best bet for the Russians to actually proceed as close as they can. Definitely the Ukrainians are holding all these forest lines. Let me show you. The Ukrainians are probably most likely holding all these forest lines, and of course holding all these positions. Likely also this building here, and probably these lines. So the Ukrainians are probably like this, with the Russians are trying to fight northward along the forest line. And if you go into the open, you're probably going to be killed by you can see that the Ukrainians can just fire at them in all directions, and then they will be all killed. So unlikely. So the Russian forces attacking is probably through the forest line region. So that's quite a detailed update on Vuhledar. Probably overdid this. The further up north, there is shelling reported at Uspenivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and there's also reports of fighting over at Mayorsk. Ryba reported that the assault intensity is kind of falling, and as a result, the Russians actually have to regroup. The Ukrainian actually have some kind of supply line within the city itself, which is why the Ukrainian forces can continue to hold strong in this western part of Mayorsk. The Russian forces are still unable to kick out the Ukrainians in this region here. So this is, to me, this is the Stalingrad. Anyway, moving further up to the northeast of Donetsk city, the fighting here seems to be intensifying, with the Russian forces pushing in multiple directions with at Nevsky, Pervomaisky. They are fighting also in the area of Vodian, moving towards Zivany, and there's also reports of fighting towards Adivka. The information coming from Ukrainian Defense Ministry. This one is from Ryba. This one is Ukrainian Defense Ministry. This information is Ukrainian Defense Ministry as well. Nevelsky is from Ryba. So Ryba and Ukrainian Defense Ministry basically covers most of these regions intel. So moving on to the Bakhmut front. So there is nothing on the New York front. Over the Bakhmut front, we have some clarification in terms of the front line. This area here is actually under Ukrainian control, according to SITREP maps, as the Russian forces actually only just started to attack and capture some of this forest line around here. The Ukrainians actually continues to hold this line, so which suggests that the latest information would be that there is fighting north of Mayorsk, and Ukrainians actually are still holding positions very close to Mayorsk itself, and they are actually holding all these forest line, controlling the railway lines. So the expansion of the Russian forces out of Mayorsk is actually pretty limited. It seems like the Ukrainians still have a lot of strong positions around this area here. As I always say that the Ukrainians are very good at holding forest regions. With all these forest lines lying all over the place, it seems like the Russian forces are unable to just penetrate out easily. So moving up to further up north, there is fighting reported towards Dvorichna, according to War Gonzo, and over at the Kyslivka region. Kyslivka region, we have the most significant is actually Deep State UA reporting a geolocation of Russian forces around this region in the forest, where they got bombarded by artillery. They got spotted by the drone, so the artillery came down. But what's important is that the Russians is actually geolocated in this position, allow us to move the front line further up north. SITREP maps previously reported the Russian forces captured this forest region here, and with the geolocation of this drone footage of Russian forces here, this actually corroborates that SITREP maps report is actually highly accurate. So I'm very, very impressed with SITREP maps. Even their report that goes against all pro-Russian sources about the withdrawal at Vuhledar, it actually corroborated by Ryba, and that in itself is very, very impressive. So which is why I have SITREP maps as one of my primary source, because all his information always corroborates eventually, very quickly, within days. So this is very important in terms of accuracy and factual reporting. Anyone that goes against all these lines, they get condemned by me, and sometimes very publicly, and you have to trust me on this, because trust me, bro. No, not trust me, bro, but I actually follow this war very closely. I report from both sides. So, and there's fighting reported towards Stupovsky, according to Ryba, and there's still fighting reported around the region near Kyslivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So the likelihood is that maybe the Ukrainians are holding this forest line here, this region here. They are actually doing a very good job holding back the Russian forces. There's a high chance this is the case, because if not, it's hard to explain how there is fighting still around Kyslivka, and that the advance towards Ivanivsky seems to be pretty bogged down. So I'm not even sure if the Russians have the control of this forest region here to be very accurate. So let's see how this goes. But the Ukrainian Defense Ministry already do say that the fighting is in the area of Ivanivsky, acknowledging that the Russians are actually making advance towards Ivanivsky in this kind of direction. So over at the Bakhmut city, we do not have any updates. We do only have acknowledgement that fighting is still on Bakhmut. But the most significant update is coming from the pro-Ukrainian source. The Deep State UA reported drone footages, which I highly appreciate. Nowadays they are geolocating a lot of footages, so I love it. Allow us to clean up the front line. So this time around, the Russian forces is spotted around this region here, in this build-up urban region, commercial region, industrial region, and this allowed us to move the front line further up, because these guys got artillery strike, if I'm not wrong, and so which means that the Russian forces do have a significant presence around this region now, and fighting is around this area. This is a meat processing plant where the Russians, after taking all this region here, push out, and they are currently trying to fan out, and they are also capture all this forestry region, and they actually push out from the wine. This is the wine wine factory, and the Russian forces are trying to push out in this way, and the Ukrainian forces are actually holding them back very well, like really well. The Ukrainian forces are actually pushing, making sure that the Russian forces cannot take more land and more territory in this eastern part of Bakhmut. So I'm very highly appreciate Deep State UA's reporting. Moving up to the north in the Vuhledar region, the Russian forces are still reportedly fighting around Paraskovievka. The troops fighting around here seems to be paratroopers, which is the airborne forces. I don't like to use the word paratroopers because they didn't do paradrop, so I just call them airborne, which is actually the more accurate term. And there is also fighting reported at Krasnohora. So similarly, the situation here, the Russian forces is actually still trying to squeeze the hell out of the Ukrainian forces around Krasnohora. They are fighting in the northern side and also in the southern side. So the Ukrainian forces here is actually they are actually kind of semi-encircled. But because they are still able to reinforce, so the lines hold. So very impressive from the Ukrainians. Over at Vuhledar, there's the latest report from War Gonzo suggests that they are attacking northward. So the Russian forces is actually from Vuhledar. After capturing, they are moving northward, and in this region we have a major entrenchment. It's a new one, a post-war one. A war version one. That means it doesn't exist in the pre-war. It doesn't exist in the satellite images before the war started. So this is a new one, and the Russian forces is currently moving towards it from Vuhledar. It seems to be the case. Might not be accurate, but the report simply says they are fighting northward from Vuhledar. So, and moving up at the Kyslivka region, there is fighting reported according to War Gonzo, with the Wagner private military contractors fighting in this region. They are pushing in two different directions. They're pushing towards Kyslivka, and they're also pushing northward towards Rozdolivka. So it's kind of interesting because they did not push for Mykolaiivka. It's not reported that much. So let's see how this goes. For me, the important one is actually Kyslivka, because this actually will allow the Russian forces to actually cut off this supply route moving into the Sivers front. Rozdolivka, as I reported previously, is actually important if you want to defeat the forces defending over here in this region here. So the Russian forces will be able to swing northward, ignoring all this line of Ukrainian defense. They can actually swing up and defeat the Ukrainian forces from the rear. So I also did a long report on this, a detailed analysis on this. Do check it out. It's all in the DPA channel, DPA War channel. So let's move on to Sperne. Sperne, there's conflicting report with Ukrainian Defense Ministry saying that they are the one defending at Spurny, and the War Gonzo reported that the Ukrainians are the one counter-attacking. So there is definitely fighting around the region of Spurny. Moving up to Bilohorivka, fighting is still reported at Bilohorivka according to War Gonzo and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. This town here still have not fell. So moving away into the Crimea front, at the Crimea front, we have fighting reported at Yapolivka. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported the Russians are attacking this position, and there's also fighting reported at Makievka according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source, where the Russian forces with some kind of a combined arms attack. But although the offensive is also called positional, so not sure if this is an offensive at all in that sense. They are engaging Ukrainian forces around at Makievka. And further up to the Sviatove region, in Sviatove region, there is bombardment reported at Novoyehorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And further up north at Kuzemivka region, there is fighting reported at Novoselivsky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There is bombardment reported at Kotlyarivka. Oh my freaking god! It's opposite shore to Senkove. There's actually a major crossing over here, but the bridge here was reportedly destroyed since September. It's not sure if they have repaired this. If it is repaired, then this is actually pretty significant for the Ukrainian forces to do reinforcement through this bridge. And there might be a possibility that there is some kind of repair being done for the Ukrainians actually to have some kind of force build up in this town here that actually warrants Russian bombardments. So that could be the case. So this is coming to become a question mark, this bridge. Over in the Kupyansk region. In the Kupyansk region, there is some updates around Kyslivka and Kotlyarivka. Deep State UA actually geolocated Russian shelling. It's a drone footage of Russian shelling Ukrainian positions here. And this actually confirms that Kyslivka is under Ukrainian control. This allows me to push back Russian borders out of Kyslivka. And this also put into question the status of Kotlyarivka, because technically these are basically like one town. So this has been claimed to be under Ukrainian control since when? Since October, mid-October. Deep State UA claimed that Ukrainian forces have captured Kotlyarivka, and we do not really have much corroborations or acknowledgement from the pro-Russian side. But with this geolocation, I believe that this is unlikely to be under Russian control. So it's assessed to be under Ukrainian control. As such, I have moved the border backwards. Kyslivka and Kotlyarivka is now under Ukrainian control. And further up north, there is shelling reported at Kimkovka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And over in the northern part, over in the Dvorichna region, the Russians are attacking Dvorichne and Hryanykivka or Hryanykivka. This is reported by Ryba. They say that there is reconnaissance by combat in this line here of defense, and the Ukrainian forces reportedly fell into some kind of operational encirclement, and then they actually requested reinforcement to break through. And so we will continue to watch if there's any intel regarding the fighting around Dvorichne and Hryanykivka or Hryanykivka region. I think this is a very important region. There is previously Ukrainian crossings, Ukrainian crossing around here at Dvorichne, where the Ukrainian forces actually can cross over, as well as from Dvorichna they can actually cross over. So it's uncertain whether they have established new crossings, because previously the Russians have already eliminated the crossing. So let's see how this goes. So I think that's all. We have nothing over at the Kharkiv front, except there's this information where a Ukrainian convoy was spotted over at Boroboshkainy, Koroboshkainy, and they are actually traveling towards Kupyansk, towards this direction, towards Kupyansk, probably from Kharkiv. So it's 40 vehicles, so estimated around 400 people in this reinforcement, I guess, moving towards Kupyansk. So otherwise, we do not have any other information about Kharkiv or the northern front, other than a lot of paranoia and artillery shelling, cross-border shellings. So anyway, that's all for the summary for the day of 341 for the 30th of January. Do give me feedback about how I report in this SITREP, because I use a lot more of these arrows. So let me know what you think about it. And if you are still here watching this in the 25th minute, thank you so much for the attention. Most people don't really watch all the way to the end. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.